Hi, we are Black Lives Matter Seacoast chapter. My name is Tanisha Johnson.
My name is Clifton West.
I'm Camilla Thompson.
And we are the leadership team of BLM Seacoast. Today we are here as Exeter's first rally. We are here to break the silence of the racial injustices happening along the Seacoast area. We are committing ourselves to be the implementer of change and to raise the voice and bring an anti-racist and anti-black community here along the Seacoast area. So we are excited for today, seeing everyone come out and sharing their voice and showing this community that Black lives do matter.
Everybody wants to be an ally, but what we're looking for and what we need are co-conspirators. People who are going to take action, people who are going to speak up, stand up at Thanksgiving dinner when your aunt says something racist. It's your responsibility to call them out, because that shit's not going to slide anymore. All right? So I do challenge you guys. I do challenge you guys to do that and speak up whenever you can. If you're not ready to do that, I understand, but then you need to call yourself an ally and not a co-conspirator. So all of these things that I'm saying may sting a little, but it's the truth of where we are right now. All right, so I'm going to do some shout outs. New Hampshire Youth Movement for bringing information for our voting rights and partnerships on events with BLM Seacoast. Thank you. Team Exeter Arts and Music for supplying music and the sound system for today. Thank you to all the speakers, Jordan, Renell, Reverend Thompson, and John. We're going to introduce each one separately, of course, but we wanted to give them a group thank you. And shout out to BLM Manchester and Nashua for being with us and standing with us in support. So some of our upcoming events. We're going to have a Dover rally on September 19th. We're going to have Know Your Rights versus Know Your Reality. That's the week of September 28th, and that's a virtual panel. We're going to have an all-black gala October 10th and a black-owned business panel end of October, date to be determined. A little bit about BLM Seacoast. BLM Seacoast was formed in July 2020 by 3 Seacoast community members, following the killing of George Floyd and the leadership demonstrated by BLM Nashua and Manchester. We were motivated to make a change in our communities. Our purpose is to dismantle anti-blackness, fight against racial injustices, and police brutality. This includes Rockingham County, Stratford County, Kittery, and York, Maine, and the Seacoast towns of Massachusetts, including Newburyport, Haverhill, and Lawrence. Since our formation, we have begun a school supply drive and fundraised over $2,000. We have donated 2 Chromebooks to Lawrence Mass schools so far. All right, so now we're going to get to our speakers. First is John Dorleen.
Thank you. Oh, all right. Sorry. How's everybody feeling today? Good? Isn't this a beautiful day? I love it. Well, my name is John Dorleen. I'm going to be running for a school committee in Kittery. And thank you. When my wife and I first moved to the Kittery area, one of the things that impressed us the most is how quickly my kids got onboarded and brought into the Kittery school system. Kittery as a school system is phenomenal. And one of the things that impressed us the most is how we had a group of educators and teachers just meet with us to talk about what's going to be the best plan for our kids. My kids have ADHD, so there are some challenges that come with that, and the Kittery school system was ready to take up that challenge, and they really did everything they could to, and still continue to do, to help my kids to not only feel like they're a part of the school system, but also welcomed in the classroom. And it's that level of passion that they have that inspired me to want to run for the school committee, because there are going to be some kids who come to the school system who are going to have difficult times, and a friend of mine is no longer going to be a part of it, and so she asked me, do you want to run? And I honestly did feel that because of how great they were to my kids, I couldn't be sidelined. So that's the main reason why I wanted to run. And the other reason, it started about last winter. My kids were supposed to be home from school at a certain time. And they, like kids do, get distracted when they got off the school bus. And as a grown-up, as their grown-up, I was afraid. I was so scared because I had no idea where they were. So as 15 minutes turned into half an hour, that turned into an hour, and school telling us, oh no, they were dropped off, I panicked. I got in my car and I drove down the hill of our street, and that's where they were, at the end of the street, where the school bus dropped them. They just decided not to come home. I was furious. I stopped the car abruptly and just yelled, get in the car. They started crying because they see Dad is angry and freaked out. And they started crying the way back up the hill to the house. Later on, I apologized for yelling at them. And I told them, listen, I didn't know where you were, and that made me scared. And when people get scared, they get angry. So me not knowing where you were made me scared and then angry. That's why I yelled, and I'm sorry. Let me know where you are. When I saw the killing of George Floyd, like all the other killings that preceded and have continued, unfortunately, it brought a lot of that to light. Ignorance brings fear. Fear brings anger. Anger brings violence. So the reason why I wanted to run for school committee is because I want the town of Kittery to see me as a part of the town. I want to put my life, my family's life, I mean, it can't be easy for kids of someone in the school committee, but I wanted to put our lives in full display against my naturally introverted wishes. And I am an introvert, which is weird that I'm talking in public. But I wanted them to see that this family is just like every other family. A lot of the problems with systemic bigotry happens because a lot of people don't know anyone who doesn't look like them. When we look at the media, how are people of color perceived? Since the 70s, and let's face it, far beyond that, starting with the movie Birth of a Nation. People of color have been seen as violent, scary, stronger than the average person. I moved to Kittery when LePage was the governor, and the first thing that I hear is that they're selling us drugs and with the name Swifty, Smoothie, whatever. And a lot of times they impregnate our white women. That was the first image that I got of Maine moving. And through the people I've met, that doesn't reflect a lot of Maine. That doesn't reflect a lot of Kittery. But I think the thing that's going to help the most is for me to get out of my house, put myself out there, let people see this man with his kids, just like you. And maybe through knowing us, you're not going to be seen as a threat. So, my challenge is to people of color, let's get out there. Let's be a part of the school committee. Let's be a part of the town council. Let's be a part of Little League, football, being a football coach. The more we're seen, the harder it is to be violent. So if they see us jogging, we won't get shot. If they see us driving in a car, we won't get shot. If someone has a grievance, they're not going to call the police just to remove us. You can't do that to a friend, and you can't do that to a neighbor. The reason why Black Lives Matter exists is because a lot of us have not felt like our lives do matter. Like it can be wasted or thrown away. But we are members of the community. We are members of society. We have contributions. And if you give us chances, we can help make the community better. Like I said before, if you have a relative that says something that's inappropriate, and we know what it could be, it doesn't even need to be overtly bigoted. Those people, them, they, help them to understand there is no they. It is a we. We are the citizens. It was a pleasure getting a chance to talk to you and somewhat meet you guys today. And I appreciate everyone coming out here. It is a gorgeous day, so there's going to be other speakers, and please stay as long as you can, and you can stay after to talk to folks. All right? Thank you.
One second. Thank you so much, John. Let's give him another round of applause, please. One of the things that he said that I really enjoyed was the fact that when he first moved to Maine and Governor LePage's comment, I always wondered why that didn't, make like national news. But it's just, it seems like the more we speak up, the more opportunities we're going to have to change, and to change people in our family, people in our communities, people that we speak to on a daily basis. There's always been the opportunity, but are we going to take it? And that's why I want to know from you guys today, are you going to step up and take those opportunities whenever they present themselves? Our next speaker, I got the privilege of hearing her speak at the Black Lives Matter rally in Rochester. So you guys are in for a treat. Ronell Pichala.
Hi everyone. This public speaking thing never gets easier, by the way. I always feel like I'm gonna vomit. But I spent the past few months organizing, and once in a while people ask me, how are you doing? And the only word I've been able to find to describe what I feel is tired. The fight for racial justice is emotionally and physically exhausting, and most days I find myself not even wanting to get out of bed. But we are battling 400 years of oppression, and the fight has not yet been won. The fight has not yet been won because the Black community is still reeling in anguish over the shooting of Jacob Blake, shot 7 times in front of his children. The fight has not yet been won because as we speak, police unions are fighting to force the city of Manchester to rehire a racist cop who finds amusement in joking about shooting Black people. The fight has not yet been won because racism exists in our state legislature and public officials like State Representative Spillane have taken to social media to call for violence against peaceful protesters. The fight has not yet been won because I still fear for my future son who may one day become the next hashtag. The fight has not yet been won because in November we will once again elect a new president, hopefully. On November 3rd of 2016, I was a high school student, so keep that in mind. I woke up sick to the news that the election had been called and hate had won. I listened to a commentator say that the results marked white supremacy's last stand here in America. I went to sleep crying, but I woke up ready to channel my anger into outrage and take my ass to the streets and demand change. This time around, I'm old enough to take it to the ballot box, and I'm asking you to do the same. Yes, it is true that electoral politics alone will not save us, but they are a part of this fight. Vote like your best friend is gay, like your mother is without health care, like your neighbor is Muslim. Vote like the lives of Black and brown people are on the line, because they are. Victory has not yet been won, therefore, we cannot afford to stand down. Hold your elected officials accountable. Remind them that they work for us and we, the people, have the power. The people should not fear the government should fear the people. We will no longer settle for lip service and empty promises. And lastly, and most importantly, keep showing up, keep signing petitions, keep donating, but most importantly, keep saying their names, because they matter. We matter. I matter. Black lives matter. Thank you.
Something that she said really resonated with me as far as being tired. And it's not just a tired like you need sleep. It's a soul tired. Like your soul, which has always been on the ready to be defensive, is tired. And every day you get up and you read about something new that has happened. Some other Black person, Black man, Black child, Black woman that has died in the hands of the police. And if you can think about that, and think about that just stacking on top of it every day, you can understand why we're tired. But we're not going to stop. But we need co-conspirators. Because when Ronell is tired, and John is tired, and Jordan is tired, then it's time for me to step up. It's time for you to step up. All right, our next speaker, Jordan Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you to the Seacoast for hosting us. Thank you to Galen Manchester for being here as well. I want to start off by saying that organizing for racial justice anywhere is really difficult work, as Ronell has just stated. You're constantly on edge, looking forward to the next action item, and hoping that people won't forget about your cause. It's easy to miss out on the little things in life when you're so concerned about holding a movement on your shoulders. A lot of us in Nashua and Manchester are admittedly workaholics. We haven't had a real day off in months. Black Lives Matter is more than just a trend for us. it's our livelihood. When the black squares fade away and the general public moves on to the next news cycle, we'll still be here. When the calls to demand justice for Breonna Taylor subside, we'll still be here. When most people forget about Daniel Prude, we'll still be here. We won't need to watch another video of a black person shot down in the streets to take action for our communities. We've had the spotlight for a couple of months now, but the revolution will not always be televised. Growing up, my family taught me that what you do when no one is watching matters the most. And while we will continue to prove that this is more than just a moment, this is a movement, this work also relies on the actions of our leaders and supporters behind closed doors. Now, I'm going to ask all of you to get vulnerable with me. I'm going to ask for a show of hands. How many of y'all didn't realize how bad racism really was in this country until after the 2016 election? Keep those hands up. Everyone look around. Thank you for being honest. That's important. Now our response to that is, it has always been this bad for us. This America is the only America that we've ever known. White supremacy did not dissolve because we elected a black man to the presidency. In fact, white supremacy was so threatened by the election of Barack Obama that it elected Donald Trump as a direct response. Now, another show of hands. How many of you have ever used the words or said the phrase, New Hampshire isn't as bad as other places, or we're more accepting and inclusive and tolerant up here? I'm going to repeat that one more time. How many of you have ever used the phrase, have ever thought these words, that New Hampshire is not as bad as other places? And it's got to be more than the folks that are raising their hands, because we've all heard it. We hear it almost daily. I appreciate you being honest with me. Let me be clear. New Hampshire is not innocent. We've all been spoon-fed a lie about the Granite State, a lie that only seeks to diminish the lived experiences of our black residents. We're here on the Seacoast today, where less than a century ago, the Ku Klux Klan organized rallies and events with thousands of supporters in attendance. Just this past week, a Deerfield representative made national news after he incited violence against our movement in a Facebook post. There are proud fascists and admitted white supremacists living among us. They're bagging your groceries, they're teaching your children, they're serving in local and state government. They are here, but so are we. So are we. Let me be more clear. There are so many who wish to do more than divide us. They want to eradicate us. They call us terrorists. They call us a Marxist organization. They threaten our lives in Facebook comment threads. I don't know if any of you have ever seen what a WMUR article looks like after they mention the words Black Lives Matter. But this is real for each and every one of us. To the non-black allies who have shown up to events like these since George Floyd was killed, some of y'all for the first time, many of y'all for the first time, you must prove that our lives mean something to you by continuing to remain engaged, by continuing to show up, by continuing to take action, by continuing to contribute. But first, I want to leave you with an Ida B. Wells quote. People must know before they can act. We must acknowledge the truth that we all live and experience every single day here in this state. New Hampshire is not innocent. I want to hear y'all say that back. New Hampshire is not innocent. New Hampshire is not innocent. It never has been. We must speak truth about our past so we can come together at once and finally build a future we can all be proud of. Thank you.
I want to know how you guys feel about this. I know how they feel, but I want to know how you guys feel. I'm not a racist. I went to school with a black person. My response is always like, a whole black person? Well, what do you want, a cookie? Another saying that I always hear, that people always say, my best friend was black. Just because you know a black person does not make you anti-racist. Just because your neighbor was black. Just because your cousin's best friend's daughter's sister had a black kid, had a black baby by, that it doesn't make you racist. It doesn't make you anti-racist. So if you're not going to speak up, if you're not going to do the personal work that needs to be done, then you're an ally and not a co-conspirator. Now I know this might sting, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I'm doing the best that I can. Do more. Thank you. So now we're going to have the founders. Oh, Reverend Thompson, that's right. Reverend Thompson.
So I wanted to make sure you had a chance to see my mask. You read what it says? Okay, good. Now I can take it off. When you were speaking and you said you're feeling tired, this came to my mind. I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. So don't get tired. Don't get tired. Don't get tired. It's notable to me that several of these young people have spoken about being tired. It's telling. I don't think they're exaggerating. I know they're feeling tired. I get tired too. Get tired too. I've lived here since late in 1986. I've given my heart to this city, especially through one of its institutions. And I've spoken oftentimes, and oftentimes I've said many of the things that all of you have now come to see as true. It is, well, a little hurtful that I've been saying these things for all these 30 years, and it took George Floyd's murder to help you to hear what I was saying. So that hurts my feelings a little bit. But I'm grateful to God that you see it. I want to tell you that it is not a contradiction to love your nation and look at its evil and name it for what it is. The heart can hold many loves. I'm told that when I was a little boy, 3 and 4 years old, that I would fight to stay awake in my rocking chair in front of the television. I would fall asleep, always. But then at 11 o'clock, when the Star Spangled Banner was played, I would jump up and salute the flag. Now that's so peculiar to me. No one else in my family did that. Where did I learn that? Was that some kind of peculiar, nascent, or I don't know what that's like. Maybe that's a birth defect. I don't know, but I want you to know, I want to speak a little bit about something that I seldom hear from activities that are sponsored by the political left. I want to speak about the national anthem. Now, it is a song in praise of a war event. That's the truth. It was written by a man who sat in the harbor at Baltimore and saw actually rockets, red glare, and all of this. He's speaking about a very specific moment in history. And I'm really, if I had my preference, there would be no war. So that used to pose me some small contradiction when I was asked to sing it. But I understand the power of metaphor, and so I see those words that have to do specifically with war that I know came from a very specific and particular lived experience. I decide that those are metaphoric words, and I think about the journey that all of us are sharing now. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Times have been dark before, and we somehow are seeing light and continue to walk. And now we're through another night time, and we're seeing a new dawn, and we know, yes, this day too will end, but there will be another one coming. And if we continue to keep our eyes open, our hearts clear, our determination sound, we will continue on. The rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Whenever I feel a shiver up my spine, when I see groups like you together, I know that the rocket's red glare is still shining for me. And when we get to those words where it says, the land of the free, the truth of my aspirational patriotism is crystallized in that word. I think the patriotism of most black people is aspirational. Not that the nation would accept us, but that the nation would grow to become what it was born to be. The land of the free, the home of the brave. It has taken bravery for us to live through these 400 years with soul and mind and body intact, with self-esteem secured. It has taken bravery. It has taken a claim to freedom in spite of what the laws have said. So I know it's not really, it's kind of corny to sing the Star Spangled Banner. I know it is. But for me, the Black Lives Matter movement is a patriotic movement. You, as do I, have an aspirational relationship to our country. That it can indeed become the nation it was born to become. That we can understand and realize and apprehend true justice. That we can grow better able and prepared to love each other, really to love each other. That we can do the hard work even when black folks are in thin supply. You white folks can still struggle to understand, what do I really believe is true about being white and about being black? This will not be easy work. You too will grow tired. You will get angry. You should get uncomfortable. This all should be difficult for you. Because what we are doing is something contrary to what nations usually do. Usually people who are different fight each other. But in America, we dare to say that though we are different, we can be indeed one nation. We dare to say that. It is a bold statement. It is an impossibility that we claim it as reality even before we see it as real. I just want us to take another thought about the Star Spangled Banner. And maybe, like me, you can enter its metaphoric meaning. Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Reverend Thompson. A round of applause again, please. Thank you. So, right now we're going to bring up the founders. I'm not sure if all three of them or just two of them. Neither one of them like public speaking, so go easy on them. So, Tanisha and Clifton.
You know, public speaking is not easy, so please go easy on us. To quote Martin Luther King, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. Today, here in Exeter, we stop the silence and we raise our voice for all Black lives. We raise our voice to fight for what we know is right. We fight because our Black lives matter. We stand here in solidarity to show this community, to show this world that it is not okay for police to be judge, jury, and executioner. I stand here saying the color of my skin is not a weapon and should not be treated as such. I stand here in front of you acknowledging that the same country we pledge allegiance to does not pledge that same allegiance to Black lives. And it is time we began to hold accountable those systems that continue to devalue and demoralize Black lives. BLM Seacoast commits to being the implementer of change along this Seacoast that is long overdue. You don't fight racism with racism. We fight it with solidarity. BLM Seacoast stands here with you in solidarity to fight anti-racist, anti-Black communities. We stand here to fight the injustices in the Black community. Let me remind you that being here today is not enough. Standing here saying Black Lives Matter is not enough. For us, being Black is not something we can remove. We can't go home, close the door, and forget that we are Black. We can't forget that our Black lives matter. We look at our children daily, having to teach them principles some of you will never teach yours. So I stand here today telling you to break your silence. If you commit to Black Lives Matter, then standing in this parkway is not enough. We challenge you to do the work, we challenge you to take action, to stand up to your neighbors, stand up to your co-workers. Some of you need to stand up to your family, to say racism is not tolerated. This is not a moment, this is a movement. Are you willing to commit to this movement?
That was good. Come on, another clap. I just want to say again that this is not a moment, this is a movement. Back in May, early in the morning, before I had to go to my full-time job, which I work as a software developer full-time, I saw George Floyd get killed right before my very eyes. I never felt so alone, so hopeless, so angry and sad. But these are not new emotions I felt. I felt the same when I saw Eric Garner get choked out. I felt the same when I saw Tamir Rice get killed within milliseconds of that officer arriving on the scene. And to be honest, in my head, when I saw it, I felt like this would be another case of people outside the black community not caring, especially here in New Hampshire. However, I was wrong. I looked all over social media and saw hundreds of protests around this country and around the globe. And I think I'm deviating from the script. But later that weekend, I saw that Black Lives Matter Manchester organized one of the biggest protests that this state has ever seen. And to be honest, I was like, damn, why didn't I know about that? But seeing that, I was instantly inspired and instantly driven to make a change. So I started attending various events hosted by Black Lives Matter Nashville and Black Lives Matter Manchester. So thank you. But I attended those events, and I still felt like it wasn't enough for me to just attend. I didn't really know where to start or how to really make this difference. So I started locally. I live in Barrington, New Hampshire, a town of like, 10,000 people, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only black guy in that town. But I started in my town. I started reaching out to people online. I started causing a story in my town page because I felt like this is something that we had to talk about. And no one was willing to start that conversation. After that, and reaching out to other individuals, I ended up connecting with Tanisha in late July. And almost 8 weeks later, here I am. Here we are. I was there in the crowd watching them talk and being like, wow, I need to get involved somehow. And we're here now. Wow. And I say that to say this. If you truly want to make a difference, you will find a way to do so. So I urge you all to think about while you are walking this long parkway. I didn't know it was this long. This long parkway back to your house or your drive home, to find a way to help this cause and to truly commit to making changes. How many more black people need to be shot or killed by law enforcement or by white supremacists for you to step up? How many more black people need to be racial profiled in our towns in New Hampshire for you to step up? How many kids need to go through our schools experiencing racism for you to step up? Where it takes one of us dying by law enforcement or white supremacists for you to step up. I deeply hope that these stories you have heard today and these voices will convince you to commit to this movement. Once again, this is not a moment. This is a movement. And are you willing to commit to the movement?
All right. Let's give a big round of applause because I think they both did amazing. As we wrap up, I do want to tell a story. When my youngest daughter attended high school, she was bullied relentlessly. She was a sophomore in high school, and she started cutting because of all of the things that she was dealing with on a daily basis. I ended up having to take her out of school because she literally told me she would rather die than go back to that school. That's my daughter. Can you imagine if that was one of your kids? And you had jumped through the hoops, gone to the school board, complained to the principal, done everything you're supposed to do, and it just kept getting worse. And the only reason it happened was because she was biracial. She had awful things written on her locker. She had things thrown at her in the hallway. All of that stuff happened 4 years ago. I'm not talking 20 years ago, I'm not talking 30 years ago. 4 years ago, that happened. And I know for a fact that it still happens today. So if you have kids in the school system, you need to make sure that they tell you what's going on, because they might not be able to stand up. So like Clifton said, when you leave here today, I want you to think about tending your own garden. Does everybody know what that means? I hope so. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up. Make sure that you vote, register, all of that. This election is extremely important for all of us. Thank you guys for so much for coming out.
We're going to leave you with this one call to action so you leave here with something to do, like immediately.
Hi. So at the end of these events, I always find that people sort of have a heavy heart. They feel guilty. Use your guilt for direct action, because your guilt all by itself will do nothing for our world. When we say that New Hampshire is not innocent, it's because we have people so instilled in our government and in our police departments that are actively doing harm and have the power to actively do harm, and they're comfortable with it. So today's call to action, please, if you can, call Governor Chris Sununu and let him know that we will not stand for racism from a House representative. His name's James Spillane. So last month, House Representative James Spillane, who represents Deerfield, Candia, Nottingham, New Hampshire, wrote this on his personal Facebook page. He said, "Public service announcement. If you see a BLM sign on a lawn, it's the same as having the porch light on Halloween. You're free to burn and loot that house." He's currently being investigated by the New Hampshire DOJ. We cannot let this cycle of racist elected officials continue for the safety of Black people in New Hampshire and our allies. He needs to resign. So honestly, I need everybody to take their phones out right now. I'll wait. Give it a little second. Okay, so go to call. Obviously, don't call all at once. I just need you to have this number in your phone. 603 271 2121. I'm going to repeat that. 603 271 2121. It's so important that we don't just show up to these events, but that we call our elected officials, and that we don't just share the posts, that we do the call to actions on these posts. Because if they don't get to our elected officials, we're just a bunch of people in a park feeling bad. So if you take anything away from that day, tell Governor Chris Sununu that he needs to call for the resignation of Representative James Spillane. Our elected officials must be held accountable. Racism will not be tolerated. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their communities, and a call to violence is unacceptable.
As we leave out here today, we'd love for this town to hear you and see you standing, and we are going to say Black Lives Matter. So please stand. Say, Black Lives Matter. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.